Welcome to another episode of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. I'm Kelly, and my co-host is Mr. James. What's up, dude?
Very happy to be here again with you, my friend.
Yeah, we got a good one today. I always, when it comes to stuff like numerology and you're getting your tarot cards done, and if you were to go to like a psychic fair, right? And they have all different types of things you can do, all types of different readings. The thing that I like the best is the palm reading. And today we're talking to a palm reader who has been reading palms for 72 years.
Okay, so let that sink in. She's been reading palms longer than we've been alive.
70. She says she started when she was 10. Her name is Myrna Lou Goldbaum. She's a Master Palmist, and she's an author, and she's also what she calls herself a soulmate specialist.
Yeah, that's interesting. That should catch some people's attention.
Yeah, so she teaches classes. She's written books on palmistry. She can read palms, not through Zoom or Skype, but she'll explain how she does it. So if you're thinking you want your palm read, she's been doing it for a long time. She'll tell you about the famous people whose palms she's read. 72 years is a long time. And I think she has over 50,000 documented palms that she read.
55 or something. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'll get the exact number, but it was over 50,000. So I think we should talk to her.
Well, let's do it then.
You ready?
Bring her on.
All right. Welcome to the podcast, Master Palmist Myrna Lou Goldbaum. Myrna, welcome to That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. How are you?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm so excited to have you here because I think palm reading is really cool. I do. I think from what I've been told, you can learn a lot from somebody's hands. So I've had my palm read a couple times. What about you, James?
I've never really had my palm read. I remember when I was younger, I kind of looked into it and I bought a book and kind of read about it. But that was years ago. So I'm excited to talk to Myrna about this.
So Myrna, how long have you been reading palms?
I was 10 when I started, and I learned from a library book. And so I've been doing it for all these years, and that's 72 years.
Wow, that is a long time. So, tell us, for somebody who's maybe never had their palm read or doesn't know anything about palm reading, explain to us what that is.
Okay, it's a scientific way to look at a person, everything that impacts their brain. So if you have a marriage, a divorce, anything that happens that's monumental to you, it's going to show up on your hand. But a newborn baby is born with a little hand the size of a quarter, and those lines are there already, a lot of them. So there's 5 basic lines that I look at. It's a lifeline, love line, work, reproduction, and the bracelets.
So I would imagine that over time, as somebody grows, like you had used the baby, having lines, but over time, as the baby grows, those lines would change, right?
Right. The baby grows up and has experiences, but some of it's predetermined. For instance, your gene pool, you can't change that. You're born with the relatives that you have. And so you have all their strengths and their weaknesses. You have all their abilities and talent.
So, Myrna, have you ever had a parent contact you and want a heads up what their children's future is going to be like?
Oh, I've had all kinds of things. I've seen it all. But I've had people who say, I need a second opinion, or I need you to give me an update from a year ago. And so I tell people every 6 months the lines meander, they change, new ones come in, old ones fade out, things happen. So, we have change every minute of every day. And so the change that happens on somebody's hand, their personality doesn't change, their relatives don't change, but they can change. And we know we can't change anybody else, only ourselves.
But so the five major lines that you had talked about earlier, do those change?
Yeah, that's the ones we're talking about. That's what
Okay.
changes. So your lifeline is what it is, but you can eat better, exercise, pay attention to details, and make whatever your relatives went to on your hand go longer.
Interesting. So tell us some of your experiences as a palm reader.
Okay, well, one time I did a man when we lived in Colorado who walked in my house and said, I've been married 25 years. I said, great, congratulations. Then he sat down and I looked at his hand and I said, uh-oh, you go out to lunch with your secretary 3 times a week, but I see a motel. So he says, I don't think you're right. It's 5 times a week. She pays for 3, I pay for 2. Is that a good one? I got your partner.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
good. That is good.
That
So
was pretty funny. Yeah.
you had mentioned that you have had like experience with like murders, UFOs, kidnapping, famous
Right.
people. I'm interested in maybe some of the famous people that you've read before.
Okay, well, the most famous would have been President Gerald Ford. And he was a keynote speaker in Breckenridge at a place called the Eagle's Nest. And I was there with a troop of people that were working for agencies. And he sat down in my line. And I'm busy working and I didn't look up and I didn't know who it was. And he sat down and said, I don't believe in this stuff. You better be good or I'm going to go downstairs and tell everybody you're a fake. So I made a little prayer to myself that I would be good. And I told him something that only he would know, that I picked up off his hand, but I made the Secret Service back away, and it's a good thing. So he jumped up and yelled, I'm a believer. So then he gave me a $10 tip, and that was in the 80s, which was a lot of money back then.
Right,
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, because usually I get 1 or 2. And when he left a 10 there, and he said he was very abrupt to start with and really happy by the end.
Wow, that's incredible.
So you want to know some other famous people?
Oh, yes, please share.
When I was 16, I worked at the Dayton Daily News in Ohio, and Irma Bombeck worked there, and I was her proofreader. And so I told her she would write 5 books, and she did. Then I did Phil Donahue when I was in high school, and so was he. And I told him that he would be the first TV talk show host, and he was. And then I did movie stars like Sly Stallone, Kevin Bacon, Clint Eastwood, Ivana Trump, before she divorced Donald. And I said, I see a divorce in your hand. And she said, oh no, we're like 2 peas in a pod. And they got a divorce, of course. Then I did Jackie Gleason a long time ago in the 70s. I did John Travolta. So I've done people you've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Well, I was named for Myrna Lou, who's a movie star, and I met her and read her hand too. And she said to me, am I getting married again, dear? And she was 80 at the time. And I said, no, you buried 5 of them. And she said, yes, I did.
So I have a question, Number. You said you read Jackie Gleason, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in the UFO genre that I like to hang out in, they said that he had seen aliens. Did you pick up on anything like that when you read him?
No. I met him in Fort Lauderdale when I lived in Hollywood, Florida. And he was in a restaurant sitting way back in the corner by himself. And I kept looking at him and he said, you, get over here. What are you rubbernecking about? And I said, you look just like Jackie Gleason. He said, I am. So I said, I do palm reading. So he says, sit yourself down. Let's see what you see. I didn't see one thing about UFOs. I like to talk about that too, but it wasn't on his hand.
Interesting.
So have you ever like read anybody or picked up on UFOs on anybody? Even
Oh,
if,
yeah.
you know? So
yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it was a man who came for an appointment when I lived in Colorado. And he said, it took me 3 days to get here. And I said, why is that? He said, well, I lived under the bridge abutments until I could get across town to get to where you are in Longmont. So I said, okay. So we sat down and I started to read his hand, and he says, I like UFOs. So you want to see where they implanted in my wrist? And I said, no, thank you. That'll be okay. So all of a sudden I got a creepy feeling, and I said, let's go outside. I'll read you on my back patio. So we went outside, and I finished reading him outside, and he tells me what the inside of a spaceship looked like, what they did to him, all kinds of weird stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, that was creepy. I was glad I was outside by that time. Then
So,
I found out he walked away from an insane asylum.
but did you pick up like in his hand that maybe he had this experience he had was real?
Oh yeah, it was real. I think it really happened to him.
Wow.
Nobody believed him, and that's why he was in the insane asylum.
Right. We've talked about how many times people come forward with these stories and no one believes them.
That's right.
You know, that's incredible.
So what else have you picked up on that you would, I mean, I'm pretty sure with all the years, nothing surprises you. But
well, I've seen it all. You're right. When I worked at the merchandise mart in Denver at a big fair that I think I met you at, a guy sat down and he said, can you read me really fast? And I said, no, we do 20-minute readings here. And he said, but you don't understand. The mothership is circling the building. They want to take me to my new planet. You got to go fast. So I read him as fast as I could, and then I was glad he was done. But you asked me, those are UFO stuff.
I wonder if he did get on the.
Yeah, I wonder if he made it.
If he made it to the mothership.
I don't know. He was a Looney Tune.
So do you only read palms in person, or can you read them through Skype?
No, or not Skype. People have to email me their photocopy of their hand, because in a fax or Skype, it loses half of the lines. I can't see enough to do it. But when I do it on the email and people send it to me from all over the world, I can do a 5 or 6 page typed report.
Oh,
wow, that much information. That's incredible.
Oh, I could probably go 4 hours on a hand.
Really?
But I call an hour and a half my limit.
So, when you're reading somebody's palm, does your palm like give you an idea of when you might die?
Well, it has your gene pool on there. It doesn't mean you're going to leave then. So mine says 85, which is just down the street from now, and I'm not planning on that. But it's just because my father was 78, my mother was 89, and 85 is sort of in the middle there. And so that's what shows on my hand. But I'm probably going to 100.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I always wondered that. And then, you say that the lines change every 6 months.
Well, if you have a bunch of experiences, it takes 6 months for them to catch up.
Wow.
So your heart, your head, and your hand are 3 different things.
Gotcha. That's crazy. So when you read somebody's palm, do you read the one that they use, like the right hand versus the left hand?
Right. I use the one that's their most prominent hand, which would be the one that they eat and write with. But on every reading, I have everybody fold their hands up, and I see if their tendency is to be a lefty or a righty. So when you're born, you put, both of you could do this. You just take your hands and fold them up and look and see what thumb is on top. And whatever thumb is on top is who you were born. So my left comes up, so does yours. I don't know about James.
Yeah, mine did too.
Yeah, well, that means that we all were born left-handed, got switched by our mother in the crib, or in school. It doesn't matter when, somebody switched us, and we became a righty, but we really think like a lefty. So that means that we do things a little different than most people.
Yes, we do.
You got you, with a little flair, a little drama, a little pizzazz.
It's just a little drama.
Yeah, a little pizzazz.
I didn't know that. Really.
Yeah, that is neat. That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, I do that in every reading when it's in person.
Wow.
That's interesting. I have a student who is constantly switching back and forth. And I'm going to have him do that when I see him, and I'm going to have him focus on that hand.
But that means that person's ambidextrous.
So what do you do in that case then, Myrna?
I read both hands if I have to. I try to just do one and concentrate. So somebody once walked past me at a fair and they said, "You don't look like you." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "When you're doing a reading, you're looking at the person and you're in it with them." And I said, "You're right. I enter right into their life." So I don't know what that is, but it's very intense, and I tell the truth. I can't lie. So I tell people what I see, and I've saved a few lives, so that was important to me. I guide people. And so when they're walking by and they look at me, if I don't look up or I don't look at them because I'm busy doing what I'm doing, it's because I'm in the moment with that person.
Myrna, when you do this, does it ever take, a toll on you, like energy wise?
Oh yeah, most people get drained. I get high as a kite. So what happens is if I'm in a fair and I'm reading all day long, instead of being tired, I can't sleep that night because I'm energized. I have to calm down.
Wow.
I have to eat something or go get busy doing something else to forget about all those energies that got all over me. So I take a really good shower and scrub them off.
Well, yeah, like a cleansing process.
Well, right, because I pick up, yeah.
Wow.
So I wrote 4 books, and they're all on palmistry.
Are they available on Amazon?
Some of them are. One is out of print, and it's how to do it the way I do it. I use Oriental palmistry as opposed to Hindu. And what happens is that one, a publisher went out of business, but I have copies for that one.
And what's that book called?
It's called May I See Your Hand, because that's what I say to everybody. And then the subtitle is Palm Reading for Fun and Profit.
So, Myrna, can you tell us the difference between the two styles real quickly?
The two what?
The Hindu as opposed to the, say, Chinese?
Well, Hindu looks at it from a different perspective than I do, and we get the same answers. So for instance, I call the lifeline the line that runs under your baby fingers across your hand towards the middle of the 3rd finger, or your middle finger. And they call something that runs around your thumb and goes around the bottom part of your thumb and up to your wrist. And I don't look there, but if you measured those lines, they're identical.
Oh, wow.
So I go 20, 46, I count it off, and so do they, and we get the same number.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I always wondered, like on my palms, I always thought that the lines on my hands were really prominent. What does that mean? Does that mean anything?
Yeah, it means you're very unique. And it means, especially I love to read black hands because the lines are so pretty. But aside from that, it just says that you're an intense person and you're unique. You're not like everybody else.
So cool. So very true. So
now I have a question too. Do scars influence the lines?
Everything influences you is going to show up on your hand. Yeah, but like the moons and the stars doesn't account for the hand. So astrology doesn't run into it. Numerology isn't part of it. Those are all esoteric and they're scientific, but they're not the same. There's palm readers that are gypsies. That's not me. I do the real thing. And then there's people that travel around and say they're a palm reader, but they make up little stories while they're going around because they're not real either. I tell the real what I see, and I prove every line. So,
is there a way that we can tell a difference?
No, you wouldn't be able to tell. I know. So if I'm in a fair and I'm walking around and there's 3 of us doing palm reading, I can tell if the 2 that are doing it are who they say they are, or if they're pretending. And I walk around and I go, no, maybe, yes, no. And if it's a bad palmist, it just hits me. I just know.
So my question was, when you're reading somebody's palm, are you able to maybe tell them like if they have any hidden talents that they may not even be aware of?
Right, I can guide that way. Today I did a reading with a young girl, 29 years old, from Ohio, who said, my job is killing me. I need to know what to do. So I said, oh, you're a PA or a nurse? She said, you're right. So I said, you're on your feet all day long. You go home like a truck ran you over. And she goes, that's exactly right. And I said, I'm going to guide you where you should go. And it isn't what you're doing now. Still can be a nurse, but not a clinic where they're just coming in, bing, 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 bing. In a doctor's office, it's a little less crazy. So she admitted that I was right. So I was helping her pick her career path change.
Wow. So you can really kind of help somebody figure it out based on their hands. Do you have people come back to you, like every year to maybe do a follow-up or read them again? Because
some people keep my card or my business stuff or my brochures, and they call me years later. Some of them call me in 5 months and say, I need another reading. And I say, well, we have to wait 1 more month because the lines will be the same that what I saw before. You have to wait at least 6 months.
Wow.
Is that vary per person?
No.
Or is it always about 6 months?
Any line that's there now won't be there in 6 months. It'll have changed.
And so the hands basically tell, they really can tell what your emotions are, right?
The emotions are part of it, but it's also your general makeup and how you handle things. It's a lot of things. So a lot of things go into that.
That's incredible how much information there is there.
Yeah, that's why I wrote the books, because I have a lot to say and that people needed to read them. So I wrote one on soulmate using the palm. And people who see that book helps them go out and find theirs.
And what's that book titled?
Okay, that one I sell the most of is called Soulmate Connections. And soulmates means reincarnation, and it's somebody you knew in a past life. You come into this lifetime, you find each other, reconnect, and you complete what you didn't get finished before.
That's interesting, Kelly. Remember, because we've had people say that we've been.
I may have to read your hand, yeah.
Yeah, they said we've been past lives.
Yeah, that's what people have told us.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, but that's why I said I may have to read his hand, because I know yours by heart. Okay, so put your hand, James, put your hand up and let me look at it.
Back it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, oh my God. There's a giant M on your hand. Do you see that? Take
yeah, I was always seeing that, yeah.
Okay, that stands for 3 things. It's called a mystic cross. So it stands for you're a survivor. Okay, you can take it down. It says you're a survivor, a fighter. It stands for a lot of money, and we're talking over $1 million. And it stands for nobody better pull the wool over your eyes. They'll be sorry they ever met you. How's that?
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah, I like that.
You need to get that $1 million, friend.
Yeah, no kidding.
Earn it. It's not going to be you earning it. It'll be a different way that it comes in.
Whatever, however you get it.
However,
hey, you got to play. You got to play it to be in it. So.
Well, mine is smaller than yours, and it's worth 1.2 million. So yours is bigger.
Wow. All right. I like it, Myrna. Thank you.
Time to go.
So you can let me know if I'm right.
Yeah. I will. You will be the first person I call.
Well,
maybe Kelly, but then you.
I'll go to the bank with you. How's
that? Yeah. Go get a ticket today.
Yeah, no kidding. Road trip.
Yep, road trip. Go get a ticket. That's really cool. And do you have another book, Myrna?
Oh yeah. So the next one I wrote was called Diary of a Palm Reader. And that one has the UFOs, the murderers, kidnappers, embezzlers, blackmailers, all the other stuff I see. Then I wrote one in 2014, and it's a novel, and it's called Cruise to the Other Side. And it has a palm reader in the story.
Wow.
So real quickly, Myrna, did you see if Kelly and I had known each other in past lives?
Did I see what?
If we shared a past life?
If you have a past life,
if Kelly and I had shared a past life somewhere.
I didn't study it that hard to know.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I said I can't lie.
No, that's I was just wondering.
if you knew each other, you could have been her mother in another lifetime.
No.
She could have been a little boy. Well, it changes every time we come
Right.
back.
But that's
And so
funny.
we don't know who you were. But this lifetime you click and you connect and you go, oh, this works. So that's what we're talking about.
Gotcha. That is
So
funny.
Here's
Mom.
your special. Okay, I have a special for your show. If anybody that listens to this would like a palm reading, I will give them at half price. So normally I charge $100. I would do it for $50. I use PayPal, and they would get in touch with me at my website, which is www.myrnalou.com. And my name is spelled MYRNALOU. And it's all run together like one word. It's like Mary Lou, only it's myrnalou.com.
Cool.
Wow, thank you.
Myrna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with us and telling us all about palm reading. And we'll make sure that the information is in the podcast description so that if somebody wants to go get a palm reading for half off, they'll be able to reach out to you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So you have any other questions?
I think we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's cool. I'm going to stop recording.
Wow, that was pretty cool too. You know, I think I say this every week though. You know, we do have cool guests. You know what was cool though? I like she could read your palm like over Zoom, but to get the details, you know, she says she needs a copy of it. But you know what, my friend, what does that tell you right there?
She picked up your, what did she call it?
The M.
Yeah, the M. She said you have an M, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have an M. But one
I'm
thing
going to
that
be a millionaire.
is that what that means?
I'm a millionaire.
One thing that people have told me is that like my lifeline goes across almost my entire palm. So I've always been told I'm gonna have longevity.
Well, right on.
Yep, I'm gonna be around till the end of time.
Oh,
Immortal.
okay. Well, can I throw some random bullshit in right now?
Yeah, go ahead, throw it in there. Come on.
Would you want to be immortal?
Probably not. That would be hard because everybody that you would come to know and love would eventually die and you wouldn't.
But you
Right?
could always form new relationships.
Yeah, but you would have to continually form new relationships. And I would imagine at this time you would be like wealthy. I don't know, maybe not. How do you go through life?
Well, that's a good question. You could be wealthy, but would you choose not to be?
I don't know.
You know, hey, this lifetime, you know, I'm going to live as a, you know, middle income insurance salesman.
But it's never this lifetime for you. It's the same lifetime. You're immortal.
Right, but you could reinvent yourself. So this version of me, I'm going to try this version of James.
You could, as time progresses, right? But
So now another real quick question. Would you want to be the age you are now, or would you have a specific age you'd want to be?
interesting question, because if you are immortal, like how do you get stuck at like whatever age? Because like, could you be like 80 and then all of a sudden one day you're immortal, but you're going to be 80 forever? Because that would kind of suck.
No, well, it would depend, and that's another question. Would your health be? You know, I mean, I'd want to be in better health. You know.
That's what I'm saying. So why are, when we do see characters that are immortal, they're young, right? But wonder if one day you woke up at 82 and you were just like, I just today, you know, you found out you were immortal. Better late than never. 82, you're gonna be 82 forever. See ya.
Well, you know, but what if you were a little kid, you were like 12 and you found out you were immortal forever? You'd never be able to grow up and do adult shit.
Yeah. Hey, that was like one of the storylines in the Eternals. One of the Eternals was like a little kid.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
That was in Anne Rice's book too.
Right. So I don't know. So, you know, what's the perfect age to be immortal?
That's a good question.
Now that is a random bullshit question.
Well, are we going to delve into it now, or shall we look into it at another time?
I don't think we should dive into it, because that could be a whole episode if you want to talk about being immortal and choosing the age. And what if, do you get to choose the age?
Interesting. Maybe we should do an episode.
Maybe.
Well, I think we should leave it at that. Cliffhanger?
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, you can go and listen to past episodes. You see that segue? You can go listen to past episodes at thatsomecrazyshitpodcast.com while we contemplate if we're going to do an entire episode on being immortal. What would that be like?
Yeah.
Interesting question.
Thought-provoking.
But in the meantime,
keep your minds open, people.